it's almost like we have this myopic focus on one thing, and that's all that we could be concerned about. And I think people are not very informed on North Korea because it's not covered by the mainstream media very much.
Yeah, because they don't cover North Korea because of Chinese piece. That they know that China is responsible for the North Korean human rights crisis. They are sponsoring this dictatorship. They are buying these girls and selling them and killing and taking their organs out of them. So if the mainstream media cannot talk about it, I remember based on my first book, they were trying to make a movie about my first book. And the Hollywood producer sent me a script. And in the script says, China was my promised land. And I got to China, I got the protection, they heard me and they rescued me. And I called the producer, like, what are you talking about? This is not what happened. And he said, this is the only way we can make about North Korean movie in the current Hollywood. So this hijacking of institutions in America right now, the mainstream media, Hollywood, education, all of it now under Chinese control, because these people have interest of getting Chinese money and distribution rights. So like you said, I think a lot of people don't understand how much our country is now going through struggle through the lies that is put up by the media, government officials, and controlling our speech. And, you know, it's of course not as bad as North Korea, but if we do not stop here, we are going to continue to become that way.
Yeah, and when it comes to the propaganda out of China as well, I think very few know about the struggle right now. And we covered on the podcast with the Uyghur Muslims and them being sent on trains to essentially concentration camps. And America, I think because of how close we are to China, has not really involved themselves in that major human rights violation going on.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like I was writing in my new book, While Time Remains, I was talking about, I was meeting Jeff Bezos. You know, I went to the Met Gala, and all the movers and shakers and the leaders of this, you know, political correctness, this culture. I mean, they denounce slavery that happened in America a long time ago. They say slavery is evil and wrong. Like I completely agree. And there are modern day slaves that sponsored by the communist parties in China. And they don't want to do anything about that. They want to talk about Black Lives Matter, but they don't want to talk about these Uyghurs, you know, in Xinjiang, and their organs are harvested out of them. They get raped, they get sent to prison camps, and they don't talk about that. So the hypocrisy of American elite, that is so dangerous. And they are the ones also leading this culture of political correctness, where if you have a wrong speech, that's a hate speech. Therefore, you deserve to be silenced. You need to be deplatformed and canceled.
Exactly. And the way that they're doing it, I mean, we experience it a lot with the podcast, is they're not going to throw you in jail because you say the wrong thing, but they're going to decrease your speech online, which is where we distribute things. It's basically the town square now, is that if you have a podcast or on YouTube, we're going to shut down your reach. We're only going to have the reach of what we want out there. And it's definitely very concerning, because the people who will disagree with me and you on this will say, well, these are private companies doing what they want to do, but they're no longer private companies when they're working with government. It's becoming, it's a style of fascism at that point.
Yeah, I mean, like I was in the YouTube too. I was making all these videos about how women in China get raped and how they were being, or like during the pandemic in China, in their Baidu, like Chinese Google, they could just order North Korean girls to their door, like Uber Eats delivering your food for like few $100 to get raped and be your sex toy.
Wow.
And this was allowed during the 21st century. And I was talking about this, and my videos get demonetized and censored, and of course get shadow banned everywhere. And I reached out to Google. I was like, they were saying how we need to believe women, right? The Me Too, the women's sexual harassment matters in America. And like, this is what happened to other women. Why do you guys not support this? And it's like, it does not meet our guidelines, whatever the guideline means. So,
yeah, it's very vague.
Yeah, it's very vague guideline. And I think because of, I mean, of course, like you said, right, in North Korea, you're going to get executed if you say the wrong things. But in America currently, still there's a price you need to pay to think for yourself, to speak your mind and standing up against the mainstream ideology. So if we keep putting up with this, and eventually nobody knows. Are you going to go back to before or going forward to the North Korean path or Chinese path? I think it's really up to us currently which path we are going to choose.